Buildaid Media, powered by builders and supported by Mix 93.8 FM and SA Garden and Home, are proud to bring you this Homeowner Workshop series. Throughout this series, we will be showcasing a wide variety of industry specialists to ensure a positive building experience. In this episode, Kevin Swart from PG Glass speaks about the different types of glass available for use in windows and doors and their relation to energy efficiency. Your host is Graham Alexander from Buildaid Media.
Kevin Swart is from PG. Kevin, thanks for joining us.
Great to be here. Thank you, Graham. We have been around for over 100 years now. Started off with a small company delivering glass out of Cape Town in wheelbarrows by the founders. But we essentially take a grain of sand, melt it, and turn it into windows for consumption in both the residential, commercial market, building market, as well as the automotive market.
We just want to run through a couple of simple concepts first, Kevin, like what is glass, and then get into double glazing, how it fits into these frames, and other kinds of performance glass. But just simply, what is glass? How do you make it?
Glass is basically a combination of sand, silica sand, soda ash, and various other materials that is melted at very high temperatures, floated along a bath of tin, and then under very controlled conditions is annealed to make it a non-brittle type material that can be cut and processed further. So essentially it's a float line process that has been around since the 50s, and that's why you get a very clear or a very smooth finish versus the old type of technology, which was sheet glass. Yeah.
Toughened glass, which is the glass you find if you break the side window in your car, how is that made?
That is essentially taking that float glass that has been manufacturing and then a further process where it is heated up to around about 700 degrees Celsius and then rapidly cooled down, which gives you the compression and the compensating tension within the glass. Hence, when you break that compression layer, it bursts.
And it's tougher.
And it's 5 times tougher, yes. Yeah. So it's really just breaking that skin that does it, but what makes it strong is if you could actually stand on it, put two materials down, you rest it on top, you could actually bounce on top of it. That's the strength of the glass.
And then the laminated glass, as it suggests, you putting layers of glass together.
That's like you mentioned, the side light of your car. This is now like your windscreen of your car. So when it breaks, it stays intact. What keeps it intact is the polyvinyl butyryl interlayer, the plastic interlayer that keeps it together. Now the question that you asked earlier about the security aspect, there are glasses available in the laminated form with multiple layers of that plastic in that make it extremely difficult to break through. So if the locking mechanism within the frames combined with that glass, we are aware that most insurance companies do accept laminated glass as a security glass when you don't have burglar bars.
Safety in a home. I think sometimes we don't understand how dangerous glass can be. Fortunately, it's well regulated. But when it comes to a safety type glass, Kevin, does it have to be marked? Do you have to buy it from a certain supplier? How is it controlled?
Most certainly. So all safety glass has to be approved by the SABS. So you can do that either way by applying for your SABS mark, or you can carry the mark on it. But the entry level, so to speak, is that every piece of glass that goes into an area that's designated to have safety glass needs to be marked with the manufacturer's name and a 1. That marking has got to be visible and indelible. So a lot of homeowners say, I don't want this ugly mark on my balustrade or in my window, hide it away. The building inspector won't accept that. The law is very clear to say it's got to be marked with that 1, i.e. SABS 1263 Part 1, and it's got to be visible and indelible.
So if your glass isn't marked on a door, you need to ask that manufacturer or the installer why it's not there. And somebody I know very well recently had doors fitted by a reputable company and the marks weren't there. And they had to actually, it was safety glass, but they had overlooked the mark.
Yes, I think that's something just to add to that is that if it doesn't have that mark, it's deemed not to be a safety glass.
Yeah.
So it's very important to understand that it must be marked, and more importantly, where safety glass is required in a home or a building.
We've talked energy efficiency and how windows have to perform in a certain way, and we've discussed the frame as being one of them. But obviously there's a lot of heat loss or gain that's going through the glass, and it can be reflected away, or you can deal with it with double glazing. And just quickly with double glazing, Kevin, there's a slide that's going to come up shortly on what double glazing actually looks like. Why is it a better insulator?
Okay, so glass in its single form, i.e. the float glass we spoke about without coatings or anything on it, is actually quite a good conductor. Not quite as good as aluminium or metal, but it is a good conductor. Hence the reason for double glazing. What it essentially does is that the dehydrated airspace kept apart by a spacer bar of sorts, you get various types, is stopping that conductivity from the one glass to the other through the dehydrated space. So it's quite similar to how they designed the aluminium with a thermal break within it. So you've got that thermal break. The only transfer of hot to cold through it is through your spacer bar. And the technologies of spacer bars also improved now to make them also thermally more efficient, very much like PVC, where the transfer of the heat to the cold is lessened.
Has double glazing become more cost effective?
It's like anything from a market perspective. The bigger the quantities, the cheaper the prices become. So with the advent of energy legislation, low-E glass and double glazing has become more prevalent in making sure you pass, but I always hasten to add, more important, keeping people comfortable in their homes. And in doing that, the manufacturing has become a lot more sophisticated and a lot faster, and hence the prices have come down quite significantly from 10 years ago.
On the subject of glass, we obviously already realize that it can be quite complex, and the architect should be walking you through and helping you through this. But get involved. And what you guys have done, Kevin, is produced a couple of products or brands that simplify ordering and using double glazing. Can we just quickly run through them? Are there 4 of them?
Sure. So we've very exciting to have developed a range of both double and single glaze energy efficiency products. Historically, I guess homeowners in the past have always just thought about the glass as closing a hole and letting light in. Why do you use the glass just so instead of bricks just because it lets light in? Glass is a functional product that provides a lot more than just doing that. So that, like we said, glass in a single form is very energy inefficient. So we've developed this range now, and from a product perspective, there are literally thousands of products out there, making it a minefield. So we've narrowed it down to 4 double glazed products and 3 single glazed. The double glazed being the standard, the plus, elite, and superior. Obviously moving up the channel so the performance of the product increases.
The difference in gaps in the glass, and we don't want to get technical, obviously that can also relate to the efficiency of double glazing.
Yeah, so there's an optimum level around about 12 to 15 millimeter space that is required. Not all rebates can accommodate that, so we can go down to a 6 millimeter, but obviously with going through a smaller gap, so your efficiency decreases. And then anything over the 15, you start getting currents in the glass. That's also bad. So somewhere between 12 and 15, the standard in South Africa is 12.
And then on your single glazing products, and one seems likes to see it as sort of a reflection, where you're preventing a certain amount of radiation going through. You've also now developed 3 products that are easy to understand from a consumer point of view.
That's correct. So with this market change and the energy legislation, the architects who do the calculations with the calculations as required in 204 have found it that the most difficult part to pass is the insulation rather than the solar heat gain portion. So low E in a single form has become very popular where people can't afford double glazing. So we've come up a range of coated products that's got a reflective coating in it, a very light reflective coating to reflect heat from direct radiation, but then with a low emissivity coating on the inside, which then stops the transfer from hot to cold. So it's a level between normal clear glass without coatings and double glazing. And you will find that the majority, between the 7 products, we've reverse engineered it with the window to floor ratio required, and we've come up with a number for each type of glass in frames to say, with that glass, you'll pass the legislation.
Okay.
But I hasten to add that we like to rather sell the products on the comfort level rather than just passing legislation.
But just a couple of things to remember as you go out and start planning or building your home. Right up front, we showed you there's no such thing as a building rate per square meter. Buildaid has estimated the costs on over 16,000 homes in the last 30 years, and we've never had 2 come up the same. There's no such thing. But when you start out, unfortunately, it's sort of all you've got. But you need to get some advice from people that are qualified to give you the advice. And if they're saying, listen, allow around 9,000 or whatever it is, but you need to go into a project with a realistic budget. You can't say, here's a 4 million rand home, everybody can see it's 4 million, and you're going to do it for 2 million. It won't happen. A lot of people try that. In fact, most people try that. It can't work. Don't take advice from the wrong people. You can get advice from people like that. They know what they're talking about. Before you employ the architect, you're allowed to go and talk to 3 or 4 of them. They're not going to charge you. They're trying to get your contract. Employ the right architect. Firstly, employ him to do his job, and then have a chat to a few. It's like lawyers and doctors. You've got to feel comfortable with the person you're working with. Use technology. Make sure your architect uses technology, and go and have a look what's out there. If you haven't used or played around with a program called SketchUp, Google it. It's called SketchUp. It's for free. You'll be amazed what you can do putting concepts together. Use specialist contractors and suppliers like the companies we're looking at here this morning. A kitchen company, get them involved in the beginning. You can't start moving the kitchen around when the roof's on, because now the sink's in the wrong place, the plumber's got to move the pipes and so on. Spend time with a company like Easy Life Kitchens. They're there to help you, and it's for free. And they'll help you put this thing together. We were talking to the chaps from Easy Life Kitchens at one of the other seminars and on the radio, and they said that more than half the projects that they undertake, the roof's on and they've started plastering. That's insane. Take some time. Use specialists. Calculate the costs accurately before you go and get a quote. So the architect, hopefully a quantity surveyor or a company like Buildaid. Buildaid has a service that can estimate your costs. Estimate the costs and say, okay, now we agree this thing is 2 million rand. Then find a builder that's going to do it for 2 million rand. Don't go to tender and give it to the lowest guy. If someone comes at 1.5 million rand, it would be completely irresponsible to give him that job. You know it's 2 million. Where's he going to find the other 500,000? Employ the right contractor. He's the guy that you're going to spend the most time with, more time than your architect. You need to understand each other, like each other, and enjoy working together with each other. And then finally, use a contract and write everything down. Put a contract together and agree with everybody up front that everything's going to be in writing. Because over the 5-month period of contract, you said, I'm sure I told you to oil that thing or move this here. 5 months later, might change. And when budgets get a bit tight because we haven't planned quite right, things can change for other motives.
Thank you for joining us. If you would like to watch any more of the workshops in the Homeowner series, follow the Buildaid YouTube channel or visit our website, buildaid.co.za, where you can find a full range of our product offering. To book your seat at our next workshop, visit caxtonevents.co.za. Don't forget to tune into Mix 93.8 FM Wednesday evenings from 6 p.m. to 7 p.m. to listen to the Buildaid Show.